There's no need for a child from someone in their 30s. Step aside.
I decided to get engaged after being actively pursued by a younger coworker. However, his mom opposed it because of my age, and my fiance said, "I'm going to find a younger woman to marry." Maybe it's my fault for not being a better judge of character, but I can't forgive what his mom said. Then a powerful ally appeared. It's time for a big revenge plan. My name is Natalie Kelly. I'm 34 years old and work as an editor for a comic publishing company. I'm single. Recently, more comics have been going digital, and our editorial team decided to launch a webcomic app, for which I was appointed as the leads. Now that I'm in my mid-30s, maybe I should think about my marriage and kids. But my career is going well, and I've never really wanted to get married. Honestly, I'm fine staying single for the rest of my life. Since my family lives in New York City, I still live at home. I contribute to the household expenses, but I make a pretty good salary, so I still have plenty left over.
Time to get married.
My dad used to nag me, but ever since my older brother got married and had kids, he's backed off a bit.
Kids are the best.
Now he says that while holding his grandchild. If it weren't for that, living at home would be truly comfortable. My mom is mostly on my dad's side.
It's your life, so live it how you want. Just make sure you don't have any regrets.
That actually hits me the hardest. Is there really anyone out there living without regrets?
Hey, Natalie, want to grab a bite to eat today? I found a great place.
The one who spoke to me was my junior coworker, Tim Simpson. Not today. I'm heading over to see Mark to discuss his new series.
Oh, bummer. But it's all thanks to you that Mark is going to serialize with our webcomic, right, Natalie?
Mark Knight is a comic artist known as a leading figure in the horror genre with a lot of diehard fans. I got close to him when I was a rookie, though back then it was tough. He was really difficult to work with. After getting to know him better, it turns out he's not so much difficult as extremely shy, and once he opens up, he's actually quite sweet. He was adamantly against making digital versions of his comics. I just want more people to read your comics, Mark. I passionately persuaded him, and I managed to get the already published volumes released as books and secured a new series on our webcomic. That accomplishment is why I was appointed as lead.
That's amazing. I want to become an editor like you as soon as possible, Natalie.
Tim is such an adorable junior coworker. He's 5 years younger than me. He really respects me and always follows me around. He's a bit of a quiet, mild-mannered type, but whenever he invites me out for a meal, he insists on paying. I can't let a junior pay for me. I always try to cover it.
Natalie, if a guy says he'll pay, you should just say thank you and let him. Besides, I only pay for people I like.
He's a bit cheeky, refusing to let me pay. You're such a cheeky one. Despite saying that, it secretly makes me happy. Even I have a bit of a feminine side, after all. I knew that Tim liked me, but dating someone from the same office can be complicated, and the fact that he's 5 years younger bothered me. So I had been dodging his advances for over a year. But well, one thing led to another. After a couple of drinks, we ended up in that kind of mood, and eventually in that kind of relationship. It's something that happens often enough between adults. Let's not get all clingy at work, okay?
Got it. But in exchange, let's get engaged.
His response took me by surprise.
It feels a little insecure without any commitment. If we get engaged, I'll feel more at ease.
I thought it was almost like something a girl would say. But having been a young girl myself once, I understood how he felt. So we started dating with marriage in mind, and I introduced him to my parents. My parents and my brother's family welcomed him kindly for the most part. But after he left, my dad, looking grumpy, made a snide remark.
What was that? Such a wimpy guy. He won't be able to protect you when it counts.
He's way better than you, Dad. Acting all high and mighty just because you're a man. I got mad, and we ended up having an argument.
Okay, both of you, enough already. Nowadays, they call them mild-mannered guys or something like that, and apparently they're popular. I still prefer someone like your father, though.
Well,
With my mom saying that, my dad turned red and fell silent. I couldn't tell if he was blushing from anger or embarrassment, but it was probably the latter. I do wonder what my mom sees in such an old-school, stubborn man, but maybe their marriage is better than I thought. However, not long after, something happened that seemed to prove my dad right. That day, Tim and I were having drinks at a casual local bar. Growing up in a small town, I've always preferred simple, local places rather than trendy, fancy spots, and I prefer a beer over a cocktail. That night, I was enjoying some beef stew, potato salad, and grilled sausages. Tim, being from a classy neighborhood like Upper West Side, apparently wasn't used to pub like this. He was cautiously trying the beef stew for the first time, and then he smiled.
Hey, it's actually pretty good.
Then, a group of 3 men at the table next to us called over to me. "Hey there, heading for some fun with your young boyfriend later?" These days, saying something like that to a woman could easily cause trouble, but it was just a casual comment over drinks, and I knew there was no ill intent, so I responded lightly. "Yeah, jealous much?" Tim's smile quickly faded, and he whispered to me.
Hey, don't bother with guys like that.
And the way he said it had this condescending, belittling tone. Sure, the men who called out to me were in work clothes, probably grabbing a drink after work, but we weren't at some fancy bar in Manhattan, so it was totally fine. Even whispers can be heard sometimes.
Did you just call us guys like that, kid?
One of the men, with a bit of a gruff voice, said, and Tim visibly panicked.
No, I didn't say anything. Natalie, let's go.
He got up and headed to the register. We still had drinks and snacks left.
Hey, your boyfriend's leaving? Why don't you come have a drink with us, sweetheart?
The man kept talking, but Tim left the pub without even turning back. I'm sorry for what he said, guys. I'll make sure he learns better. See you around. I smiled and said to the men,
Oh, it's all good. Tell your wimpy boyfriend we said hi.
They laughed and waved at me. A wimpy boyfriend. Yeah, the way he freaked out was more than wimpy. It was pathetic. Like my dad said, maybe he really wouldn't be able to protect me when it mattered. I mean, not being able to handle some light teasing at a pub is pretty sad, and that condescending attitude was seriously uncalled for. I thought as I followed Tim out of the pub.
Natalie, you really shouldn't mess with guys like that.
Tim said, looking awkward, probably realizing how pathetic his actions had been. Guys like that?
You know, those muscle-headed laborers, right?
That was blatant jobs discrimination. Did he really think it was okay to look down on anyone who wasn't in a suit? My dad's a construction worker, you know?
What?
Tim froze at my words.
I mean, craftsmen are different.
He made a poor excuse.
What if something happened because you got too friendly with a stranger? If they held a grudge or started stalking you, that'd be trouble.
No, things like that rarely happen. Sure, with all the information shared online these days, some people might think the world is full of dangerous individuals. But if you're that worried, you'll never be able to connect with anyone. Before I could finish, Tim cut me off.
If anything happened, I wouldn't be able to protect you as I am now. Maybe I should learn some martial arts or something, so I can protect you properly.
I couldn't help but feel my heart skip a beat when he said that. In the end, Tim never actually took up martial arts, and he never really protected me either. I also went to visit Tim's houses. It was a pretty impressive home in a quiet, upscale neighborhood. His parents were refined and calm, basically the complete opposite of my family.
So, Natalie, how old are you?
Tim's mom asked, and I wondered how much Tim had told them about me as I answered. I'm 34.
Oh my, you really are that age, aren't you? 5 years older than Tim.
The way she said, really that age, made me think she already knew beforehand from Tim. If she knew, then asking like that felt intentionally hurtful. And then she continued.
At 34, it's almost too late to have children. Timmy's our only son, and both my husband and I are hoping to see a grandchild soon.
She said it with a gentle smile, but it was clear she didn't welcome me. I was also a bit put off by how she called him Timmy.
Sorry, I never thought my mom would say something like that.
On our way to the station, Tim apologized repeatedly. Well, if her only son says he wants to marry a woman 5 years older than him, I guess that's how she'd react. It was somewhat understandable. But if I married Tim, there was a good chance I'd end up living in that house. I had a feeling they'd ask me to quit my jobs too. Plus, I had a secret I still hadn't told Tim. Maybe sensing my anxiety about marriage, Tim tried to reassure me.
Even if we get married, let's just live as the two of us until we have kids. I want you to keep working too. It'd be such a waste for someone as talented as you to quit. And when we have kids, I'll help with the housework and raising them.
But the fact that he mentioned kids twice made me think that having children was a given and non-negotiable. I have just one condition, or rather, a request.
Sure, anything. If it means I get to marry you, Natalie, I'll do whatever you want.
Since Tim said that, I decided to share my secret and make a request. Tim agreed willingly. At that moment, I thought maybe I could make it work with him. He might be a bit unreliable, but I felt like he genuinely put me first. About 2 weeks after visiting Tim's parents, I noticed something seemed off with him. You seem a bit down, don't you?
Do I? I don't think so. Anyway, why don't you come over for dinner this weekend? My mom's really excited to cook for you.
Honestly, I wasn't too keen on the idea, but I couldn't exactly refuse. Plus, if we were going to get married, it wouldn't hurt to try her cooking. Differences in habits and taste preferences are often points where newlyweds stumble, after all. Okay, sure, I'm looking forward to it. When I said that, I noticed Tim's face tense up a bit, but I didn't think much of it at the time. That day, Tim was supposed to pick me up from the station, but he messaged me that morning saying he had an unexpected errand and couldn't come. So, I stopped by a shop his mom liked and bought a fruitcake as a gift before heading to his house. Thank you for having me today. I heard you like the cake from this shop, so... The response I got after greeting them and handing over the cake was unexpected.
Oh, so Timmy invited you here saying we'd have dinner at home.
What?
Well, it's fine. Anyway, come on in.
With that, I stepped from the entrance into the living room. where Tim was sitting on an expensive-looking sofa, his head down. He knew I had arrived but didn't look at me. His dad wasn't around.
I asked you to come here today because there's something I need to discuss with you.
Really? I thought you wanted me to come because you wanted to cook. Feeling something was off, I asked.
Why would I need to cook for you?
She said it very softly, but I heard it clearly.
Look, I'll be blunt. We don't need a child born from someone in their 30s. Besides, there's no guarantee you'll even be able to have a child, right?
What?
You know, as a woman, don't you? The older you get, the harder it is to have kids, and the risks of complications during childbirth or having a child with disabilities increase.
I knew that too. It's true, but on the flip side, there's no guarantee that being young means you'll definitely conceive and have a healthy baby.
You're 34, right? Even if you got pregnant now, by the time you give birth, it would be a late pregnancy.
That was also true. There's no guarantee we'd conceive right after getting married, and even if we did, I'd be 35 by the time I gave birth. But there are lots of couples like that. There's no such thing as a risk-free pregnancy or childbirth. And marriage is about making that commitment together, understanding the risks, and supporting each other. Despite everything his mom was saying to me, Tim just sat there on the sofa, head down, saying nothing.
Timmy is a kind boy, so I'm saying this on his behalf. You're 5 years older. Step aside now.
The kind Tim didn't defend me, and instead, in a small voice, he said,
Sorry, I'm going to date someone in their 20s, so let's break up.
A flood of emotions ran through my mind. He was the one who approached me in the first place. I never even wanted to get married or have kids. But somewhere along the line, I fell for him too, and I thought we could build a life together as a couple.
He won't be able to protect you when it matters.
His words came back to me. He was right. If he can't stand up for me now, at this very moment, against his own mom, there's no way I can marry him. I understand. Well then, I'll be leaving now. I wanted to leave as quickly as possible. Tim followed me as I headed to the front door.
I'm really sorry, but my mom told me all these scary stories about late pregnancies. I do love you, Natalie, but I just don't think I can do it.
He said, eyes brimming with tears. You're right. You can't handle it. I get it now. Go ahead and find a young bride, just like your mom said. Goodbye. With that, I left the house. I felt some anger, but there was no regret. In fact, I thought it was probably better to realize this before getting married. Since I had some doubts myself, I convinced myself that this was for the best. To keep the tears from falling, I looked up at the sky for a while. When I got home, a letter had arrived from somewhere. It was a test report that no longer mattered now. The truth is, back in my late 20s, I went to the gynecologist because of irregular periods and found out I had fibroids in my uterus. They weren't big enough to require surgery, and we decided to monitor them for a while. With my busy work schedule, I ended up ignoring the issue. But when talks of marriage with Tim came up and he expressed a desire for children, I decided to get properly checked and treated. Uterine fibroids can sometimes cause infertility. A man and woman who plan to get married examine each other for fertility problems. When Tim proposed, I made this check a condition for us to proceed together. Usually, due to privacy concerns, test results are individually notified, but Tim said, I don't want my mom seeing it. So we both agreed in advance for the results to be sent to my place. With a mom like his, I figured there was a good chance she'd open his mail and read it. When I saw the test results, I couldn't help but laugh.
What's going on? What's so funny? You look crazy.
My mom asked worriedly as she watched me laugh through tears. I broke up with that guy I brought home the other day. His mom told me that no one needs a child born to a woman in her 30s, so I should give up on the marriage with him.
What?
It was my dad who shouted.
That's ridiculous. What do they think our daughter is? I never liked that guy from the start. Good thing you're not marrying him.
Yeah, you were right, Dad. My parents were kind to their heartbroken daughter.
You don't have to get married. Just stay here forever.
That's what my dad said. Well, that'd be a bit of a problem too. I laughed through my tears as I replied, I'll be fine. I still have my jobs. And I decided I'd go back to work with energy again tomorrow.
I heard you're getting married, Natalie. The editor-in-chief told me.
Mark said that to me when I went to pick up a manuscript. After I accepted Tim's proposal, he had gone and reported it to our editor-in-chief. That's why dating within the office always ends up being annoying and messy. Oh, that info is outdated. The marriage isn't happening anymore.
Really? Well, I mean, no offense, but I think that's probably for the best. I was worried about what would happen if you quit work after getting married.
Thanks for saying that. But I wasn't planning on quitting anyway. To the public, Mark's gender is unknown, and due to his delicate, beautiful illustrations, many think he's a young female artist. But in reality, he's a man in his 40s. He insists on traditional hand-drawn illustrations. So even though it's a webcomic, he draws everything on paper, which means I have to come pick up the manuscripts. At first, I thought he was a difficult person. But once we got to know each other, he turned out to be kind, friendly, and incredibly knowledgeable due to his work, which made spending time with him enjoyable. So, I actually looked forward to coming to pick up the manuscripts. Though we started out as just editor and assigned comic artist, we've become friends now. I guess I'm just not cut out for marriage. From now on, I'm going to focus even more on my work.
I see. Mind if I ask what happened?
Sure, I don't mind. I told him the whole story. By then, I wasn't even crying anymore. I could even talk about it with a bit of humor.
Why aren't you angry?
After hearing my story, he asked with a puzzled look. Well, actually, my ex had a zoospermia.
What?
I'm not that young either, and he wanted kids, so we both did a fertility check before marriage. My condition was benign, so they said I could get pregnant after surgery. Though, of course, age is an increasing factor.
Did you tell your ex?
I didn't. He's not part of my life anymore, and it's not something I need to go out of my way to tell him. Plus, I wouldn't want him to think I was being spiteful. I said that, but truthfully. I had debated whether it would be kinder to tell him. Should I let him continue his search for a young wife, unaware, until one day he finds out through another test?
There's no need to tell him. It's his life. You don't need to be involved anymore.
When Mark said that, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders.
Oh, but you guys still work at the same company, right? It might be hard to not be involved at all.
It's fine. He actually requested a transfer and moved to another department. He's not the strongest person, so I guess he didn't want to run into me at work. He's in the girls' comic division now. I'm sure he felt some guilt too. Honestly, I was glad he was out of my sight. Even though we were in different departments, since we were in the same publishing company, I'd still hear things about him. Apparently, Tim was regularly going to group dates and really putting effort into finding a young wife. I wasn't looking to badmouth an ex, but since a lot of people knew we'd been engaged, they were curious and asked about our breakup. His mom told me they didn't need a child born from a woman in her 30s, so he broke it off. I gave that straightforward answer to a close colleague, and it seemed to be a more shocking reason for the breakup than I expected. Tim ended up being known behind his back as a mama's boy with a toxic mom. Well, it wasn't wrong, so it couldn't be helped. Tim's reputation with the women at work had tanked, but it seemed he found someone at one of those group dates. They said it was a 25-year-old office lady, that she was pretty cute, and that they were getting married next month. There were multiple people eager to tell me, even though I hadn't asked. People love a good scandal or a dramatic twist, especially when it involves someone they know. They were all very sympathetic towards me, but honestly, that got a little annoying too. One day, I ran into Tim in the hallway. Considering we worked in the same building, it was bound to happen. "I heard you're getting married. Congratulations," I said with a smile.
Oh, thank you.
Tim averted his eyes awkwardly.
I really am sorry, Natalie.
I didn't need an apology at this point. It's okay. You're marrying a woman in her 20s just like your mom wanted, right? That's great.
Yeah, she's pregnant, so we're kind of rushing our wedding.
What?
Well, I mean, you might think it's too soon since it hasn't even been a year since we broke up, but
That's not the point. Is she really pregnant?
yeah,
I see. That's good. Congratulations. Tim seemed to think I was shocked because his new girlfriend was pregnant. He kept apologizing, saying, "I'm sorry," over and over. But that wasn't why I froze, of course. I contacted Mark to see if I could visit his place because I had something to discuss.
Of course, I've got some delicious roast beef here. Just bring a bottle of red wine as my consultation fee.
Since he said that, I bought a slightly expensive bottle of red wine and went to his place. I needed someone to talk to, but I couldn't tell anyone at work. Mark knew the situation and seemed like someone who could offer fair, level-headed advice.
It could be a mistake in the test results, but I've heard that test is quite accurate, so it seems unlikely. Which would mean,
Yeah, it's probably not Tim's child, right?
no kidding. They call that brood parasitism, right? So what do you want to do?
That was exactly what I wanted advice on. Should I just pretend I don't know, or should I tell Tim about his azoospermia diagnosis?
I already told you before, I think there's no need to tell him. It's his life. If he ends up raising someone else's kid as his own, unaware, then that's better for him. Ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Wait a sec. You don't seem satisfied. What do you really want? Who are you mad at?
I'm mad at that brood parasitism woman, but I've never met her, so it doesn't feel real. As for Tim, I just think I wasn't good at judging him, but
The person you really can't forgive is his mom, right?
yes, I can't forgive what she said to me. I want to forget it, but it keeps coming back and making me mad.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, got it. I'll help you get revenge on his mom.
When Mark used the word revenge, it made me realize that yes, I wanted revenge against her. But how? Even if I contacted Tim's mom now, she probably wouldn't agree to meet me. While I was thinking that, Mark started making a phone call.
Can I speak to Tim Simpson, please?
It seemed like he was calling the editorial department for girls' comics where Tim worked. Mark contributes significantly to our company's revenue, so no one would find it strange if he suddenly called a different department.
Sorry to bother you all of a sudden. The story I'm working on has a mother in her 50s, and your mom is around that age, right? I was wondering if you could tell me if she takes any classes or does any activities?
Mark was casually getting personal information about Tim's mom. Maybe it's an editor's instinct to allow almost anything for the sake of the work.
She goes to a flower arrangement class at the cultural center by the station every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
After ending the call, Mark turned to me with a mischievous grin. The next Wednesday, Mark and I waited on the first floor of the building where Tim's mom attended her class. Middle-aged women with the air of wealthy housewives were coming down from the elevator one after another.
Oh, it's you. What brings you here?
Tim's mom noticed me and looked suspiciously at Mark, who was standing beside me. It probably looked a bit odd to see me in a business suit next to Mark, who was dressed in well-worn denim from head to toe. But just to defend Mark's honor, those were quite expensive vintage jeans. I need to talk to you. Do you have a moment? When I said that, she looked at me with a curious expression.
And who is this gentleman with you?
This is Mark Knight, our publishing company's leading comic artist.
Oh, I've heard the name from my son. You're quite famous, aren't you? So what brings you to talk to me?
She looked excited. Her curiosity and starstruck enthusiasm clearly piqued. Just as expected, exactly the reaction we wanted. I invited her to a cafe inside the building. I heard Tim is getting married. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Even when her son's former girlfriend, whom she caused the breakup with, said that, she didn't seem the least bit concerned. Today, I'm not here to congratulate you. There's something I really need to tell you.
What is it?
Her expression remained curious and excited. I pulled out the contents from an envelope with the test results and placed them in front of her.
What is this?
These are the results of an infertility test we did since we were planning to get married.
A zoospermia. Who?
It is Tim.
That's a lie. What do you mean? Why are you doing this to me?
She was extremely flustered, but didn't seem to believe it. Or rather, she probably didn't want to believe it. It's not harassment. But I heard your son's fiancée is pregnant, isn't she? That's good news, right?
What? Oh.
It seemed she finally understood. Her face quickly turned pale. But the test results aren't 100% certain. When I said that, she looked momentarily relieved, expressing hopeful optimism.
Right. There's no way Tim couldn't have kids. That can't be true.
I'll give you this report. Whether you keep this to yourself until you take it to the grave or suggest Tim get retested is entirely up to you.
What? Take it to the grave. But what if the child isn't my son's?
I wouldn't know. It's none of my business anymore.
But if he gets retested and finds out he really can't have kids, Tim would be devastated. And if the baby turns out not to be his...
Tim's mom began to frantically tug at her carefully styled hair.
What should I do?
You could always choose to act like you know nothing and love the grandchild as your own, even without a blood connection.
No, you've got to be kidding. That's the one thing I absolutely won't accept.
No matter how this played out, a confrontation was inevitable. I smiled gently and spoke slowly, as if to explain it carefully to her. Just like you wanted, your son found a young bride in her 20s through his dating efforts. Leaving Tim's mom muttering to herself, I paid for everyone's bill, and Mark and I left the cafe.
I guess I didn't really need to be here.
Not at all. If I'd been alone, she wouldn't have followed me to the cafe. Just having you there made me feel so much more confident. Plus, you're the mastermind behind this plan. I felt genuinely relieved. The plan was simple. I hand over the burden I could no longer carry entirely to Tim's mom.
The pass the buck strategy was a success. How about a celebratory drink?
Mark took me to a bar that was just my style. As expected, Tim's mom didn't keep the secret to herself until the grave. And she apparently chose the worst possible moment during the formal meeting between both families.
The baby you're carrying isn't my son's?
Naturally, things got ugly after that. She could have at least waited until after a retest. But instead, she made a scene without saying anything to Tim. The retest results confirmed that Tim had a zoospermia, and the child wasn't his. The engagement was called off just days before the wedding. I have no idea what happened to that woman after that. Since the child seemed to belong to another man she couldn't marry, she might have had a showdown with him or decided to become a single mom. Either way, the child wasn't at fault, and I hope it didn't end in misery. Still, since she's someone I've never met, I can't bring myself to care that deeply. As for why I know so much about all this, it's because Tim told me himself. Shocked by both his medical condition and everything else, Tim looked quite exhausted. Are you okay? Some women don't want kids, and there are plenty of happy couples without children, so you shouldn't worry too much. I found myself offering words of comfort when I saw him in the break room.
I heard you're going to be the editor-in-chief of the new horror webcomic publication. That's a big promotion.
Thanks. Honestly, I'm having so much fun at work right now. The headline artist for that webcomic is, of course, Mark.
I've decided to move out. After everything that happened, I realized staying with my mom would ruin me. It sucks that I didn't realize this sooner. Maybe I wouldn't have ended things with you.
According to Tim, his mom had become even more attached to him, begging every night in tears for him to stay by her side, saying she no longer needed grandchildren. We can't change the past, but we can change the future. I think Tim made the right decision. Do your best. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. You do your best too, Natalie.
One of us extended a hand, and we shook. I felt genuinely good. Mark's new series in the upcoming comic is a mother-son horror story. The mother, driven by her love for her son, descends into madness, and it's terrifying.
Sorry for using this as material, but I got the idea from this whole situation.
I'm honored to have been of help.
So, are you planning to get back together with your ex-fiance?
No way. We shook hands, wished each other well, and parted on good terms.
I see. That's good.
What?
Well, would you continue being my partner from now on?
Of course. Let's keep making great work together.
Oh, I didn't phrase that well. That was supposed to be a proposal.
What? I mean, I do like Mark, and I definitely enjoy being with him.
I don't really want kids, and besides, the work we create together is kind of like our child, isn't it?
He seemed to be trying to say something profound. Horror comics as our child. I laughed as I said that.
Maybe that wasn't the best comparison.
Seeing him look troubled, I answered, "That's totally fine. Being partners in both work and life might actually be nice." And when I invited him to my place, I thought my dad might have something to say again since Mark is tall but very thin.
That guy's a craftsman. He's lived by his own skill alone and impressive. Natalie, you've got a good eye this time.
My dad praised him highly, which made me feel oddly relieved.